I want to help people within the companies to use different ways of working because I think that benefits them in their lives. And I think they can do that with being more data driven, for example, because it gives a voice to the intern, for example. If the intern comes up with an idea, can A/B test it, and it turns out to be a great idea, while the CEO can do the same thing. I think it's kind of equalizes or democratizes the decision-making process. And I think that's very interesting, and I think that's very helpful for people. It's kind of, I want to change the world in ways, and this is maybe a way that I can do this little thing to change people's lives and to give them, to give them more power, to give them a voice with data.
I'm Brandon Reed, and you're listening to Ready, Set, Startup, a podcast that brings you industry-tested perspectives from leaders working in all areas of the startup lifecycle, so you can learn from the wisdom that they've gained over years in their fields of expertise and apply it in your own entrepreneurial journeys. Let's get into it. On today's show, I'm talking with Lucia Van Den Brink, founder of increaseconversionrate.com. After an early career in journalism and writing books, Lucia made the full-time pivot to e-commerce, where she now helps businesses with the critically important task of optimizing their conversion funnels, testing their assumptions, and adapting their product to what users are actually asking for. Her story follows a unique and honestly refreshing path as she prioritized her family and leveraged the freedom that entrepreneurship can bring to be present with her newborn child before rebuilding the business back up from scratch. What she shares in this episode is so valuable and is applicable to anyone in the startup world, regardless of where you are at in your own journey. We begin our conversation with Lucia's first entrepreneurial experience at age 11, selling what else? Pokemon cards.
I think it started with me trading Pokemon cards, honestly.
Awesome.
Like I would create like an event at my garden for people to come and join and trade Pokemon cards. And I think, I don't know, there is some kind of a entrepreneurial spirit already in there. And then I was like, I don't know, 8 or something. And when I was 11 and, this whole big internet thing started, I think I built my first webshop at that point. Started selling like bracelets made of clay.
Okay.
It was really difficult that time to set up a web shop, honestly. Like it was not that easy. Like you have a Shopify platform or WooCommerce. You really had to code it yourself. And the only thing I had was like a buy button. And that would then send an email to me. No one actually bought anything. So it's not a big success story, but it's kind of maybe the MVP of me becoming an entrepreneur. And I think after that, I had a lot of regular jobs as well, but I would always be doing some stuff for myself on the side. And all the time, I would specialize in conversion rate optimization. And I would all the time get better and better in that, have a new job, a little bit of a new challenge. But every time I would come to the same point where I would think like, hey, shouldn't I run my own business? And then I would get another job, a little bit better, a little bit different. And it would be fun for a while, but then I would hit the same point and think again, like, hey, shouldn't I start my own business? Until one day I really did, I guess, and went from there.
Awesome. So when you go from Pokemon cards to clay bracelets, and that's a really funny, that's a great story. That whole like trading card scene, I'm sure that's a start for a lot of entrepreneurs, because that's kind of like the early assets, right? It's like the hard assets when you're little.
You're right.
Things you can sell. And so from there, I mean, let's talk then more up to present day, the company that you have now and the startup, the conversion rate optimization company. And tell me a little bit about that. And then I want to dig into kind of how that got started and how that came to be. So talk more about what you're doing now.
Yeah, so the company is called increaseconversionrate.com, and we help companies, it can be big corporates, but it can also be startup, scale up. And we help them with doing A/B testing and research to improve basically the flow towards, whatever is the conversion. That can be a web shop selling something, which is the most straightforward one. But we have also optimized for news websites. So that's very, very different. And how do you do that? But then you can run A/B tests to learn, like, hey, what works better? Which version works better? And you can do that in a data-driven scientific way. And I think that's sometimes it fits the culture very well, some companies, and sometimes it doesn't at all. Sometimes companies are just led by opinions or, someone in the management telling you what to do. And I think what I like about this whole experimentation and increased conversion rate thing is that from the traditional companies, it really changes the mindset, and they have to kind of switch from, hey, someone is going to tell me what to do. So mainly for the teams, for the employees, to like, hey, let's find out ourselves what actually works. Let's kind of find out the truth and then work from there.
Awesome. So that's a pretty niche space, right? I mean, that's what brought you to that, to specifically conversion rate optimization. What felt like, how did you identify that need and then step into it?
Good question. So I think the 11-year-old me building that web shop definitely helps. Then I actually did a master's.
You were 11 when you built that?
Yeah.
Wow, that's super impressive.
Super nerdy.
Yeah.
Geeky. Yeah. So yeah, that was definitely, it was just an interest. And actually I did a master's in journalism. And I thought I was going to be a journalist, and that's very different. But in fact, also in journalism, you try to uncover truths or maybe, things that people don't know about yet. And you try to inform in that sense, which is very much related to what I'm doing now. It's just a little bit different. And sometimes it's a little bit more commercial, of course. So I ended up in conversion rate optimization just because I found it very, very interesting. It is, like you say, like a small area in IT and growth and, what you can do there. But it's a very nice one, I would say.
Awesome. So when did you decide to take that and go all in? You said you were doing several other jobs, kind of starting some things on the side. When did you say, okay, I'm going to start my own company and go all in on this one?
So it was always a voice in the back of my head, like, hey, I should have my own company. I should, do this myself. I know how to do it. But of course, you also know nothing at the same time.
Exactly.
So, and then you have the thing about security and what is actually security, right? If you can have a very nice job, you get a nice salary, and your income is kind of steady and you know what to expect. That feels stable. It feels safe. But in fact, you can just be fired the next day. And, there is really no such thing as a stability. But I have to say, I was kind of scared to leave that stability and to find another stability in, I don't know, in my own work and in my own company and build that up from the ground. But honestly, I like to explore that as well. And I think entrepreneurship is a lot of times also you against yourself. And I guess this was also a case of that.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? It's nothing is ever sure. Nothing ever is risk-free, but it's really just, I guess, a shifting of the risk to outside of your control to more in your control, I think is what entrepreneurship is. And there's still so much out of your control, oh my goodness, with entrepreneurship. But it's like taking the bet away from, betting that the company is going to continue doing well and it's not going to get downsized, you're not going to get laid off or let go, or things are going to change there, to a bet that like you can make this work. You can put your head down and make this work and keep pushing this company forward. And so it's still risk. I guess it's just like shifting it around. And I totally agree that can often be, a compelling thing for people. Some people it pushes away, and some people I think it pulls in to entrepreneurship. As you were getting started, how did and you were doing the conversion rate optimization piece, and you found that interesting, clearly found a need, started helping early clients. How did you fund your business? Did it fund itself? Did you have to dip into savings? Did you take funding from angel investors or others? How'd you do that?
No, it's totally bootstrapped. So I funded it myself. So I was having a job while I got my first client, and then I thought, okay, this is just a coincidence, but it's fun. This client came to me because I posted something on LinkedIn,
Okay.
and they resonated with that, and I found that a very interesting game. Or, how does that work? Like I write about something and that then attracts a client that fits that. I found that very interesting. But I thought, this is just a coincidence. But I want to see how it works, if I can do it. And so I started doing that next to my regular job. And then I got another client and then another one. And then I was thinking, oh, this might not be such a coincidence anymore. Like there is probably really something there. And as you might guess, I don't really have a really big ego behind me to think like, oh, yeah, I'm just going to do this.
Sure.
And, let's go. I'm more of a doubter, a thinker, and it's not that easy. So I really gradually kind of got the confidence to do this. And wow, I got more clients. Of course, also there was more money coming in. And then there was too much work at one point. And then you start to make your first hire. So I think that's probably always a big step when that happens. And I also think a lot about things I don't like in regular companies and how I would like to do that myself. And also, whenever you have a lot of clients, which I don't know, it feels like it happened by accident, but also not. But with that, it also, and with the money that comes with that, it also felt like a big responsibility. Like I could go and buy a nice new car, but is that really what I wanted?
Right.
And then I was thinking much more along the lines of, no, I would really like to build a company and work with different kind of clients on conversion rate optimization and also help other people grow in that area.
Yeah, that's really neat. As you were finding those early customers, and by the way, congrats on bootstrapping. I think that's such an accomplishment to be able to early on get some traction, some product market fit, get some things validated. I think often in entrepreneurship, the glorified thing is like taking the leap into a company with like 0 customers yet and no traction, but you do
true.
it anyways. And that's absolutely impressive in its own right. But I think it's so neat to see entrepreneurs that were able to, and founders that were able to find some of that before and take the leap more gradually and in a more informed way of like, hey, this is really working and something I can press more into. So that's really cool. And as you were doing that, as you were finding those customers early, those clients early, how you said the first one kind of was on LinkedIn, you posted and someone resonated with that and reached out. Is that how you continued to find your leads, or were you doing other marketing? How did you kind of grow that first client base?
Yeah, I think LinkedIn for some way is still working very well to attract clients. I also have a very big network of people that do conversion rate optimization. I speak at conferences, so that also puts you in a position where people think like, hey, that resonates with me. And later on, whenever they need someone or they need a company to help out with conversion rate optimization, then they think of me as a person, or sometimes they know the company. But right now, most of it really comes from my personal branding in a way, the things I stand for, the things I put out to the world. So a lot is still kind of on me personally. And I think for now that's okay, but maybe in the future that should change.
And you said, a lot of it is this network that you've built. How did you do that? Was that primarily through conferences? Or how I'm trying to kind of put other founders that may be listening into that position of like, oh, awesome, you built a network and have built clients out of that. Where do they even start? How do you start?
It's a very good question because I'm actually, I don't know, whenever I hear the terms like build a network, I'm like, oh, that's not for me,
Yeah, right.
I feel like, oh, I'm not going to be talking to strangers. But in the end, you build your network and your connections through, the places you work, the people you know, being kind to people, teaching people stuff. And then at one point I started posting on LinkedIn. As I just told you, I have a background in journalism, so I was good at kind of deciphering what would attract people's attention and what would be new information as well, because there's a lot of information being repeated and repeated and repeated out there. So I was really good at posting at LinkedIn as well. And I guess that really got traction. But I'm not a super social person, honestly. I mean, I'm not antisocial, but I really takes me a lot of energy.
Right.
Maybe because I'm too social in a way, and if you put me in an office, I'll be talking to people all day, but I'm not actually following the things I should be doing or I should focus on. So it distracts me a lot. But yeah, I think building a network, you should use your strengths. So whatever that is, whatever maybe kind of feels natural to you, and maybe a little bit outside your comfort zone, of course. That can be very beneficial. But yeah, in my case, it was the things I had already practiced, like writing from journalism, and just, I don't know, helping people along the way.
Yeah, I really like that answer. That's really, I think, disarming and unintimidating to when you're right. When you hear build a network, you're like, oh man, networking events. Like, I think a lot of people cringe at that and kind of recoil, but you're saying, hey, you have natural giftings and abilities, share those things, like share the value that you've learned, that you have intrinsically, be kind to people, treat them the right way. And like that network will build on its own to some degree. Everybody has to step out of their comfort zone at some point, but it doesn't have to be this huge leap into some cold networking event where you're just like, you're wearing your name tags and everybody's meeting each other for the first time.
I mean, to each its own, right?
Yeah,
because
totally.
For some people that might totally work.
Yeah.
But I guess you do need to find the things that work for you, and the things that you're good at, that you feel good with, or that you can grow in.
Yeah, for sure. I want to circle back to something that you mentioned about, like, you were getting more work and, okay, this thing was actually becoming financially viable. Okay, wow, this is too much work. I need help. I mean, that moment of knowing that you need to bring in your first hire, kind of take me to that point in the business, and how did you know you had reached that point? And then what was your next step after that? Okay, I need help. What did you do from there?
So my first hire actually went really wrong, which was interesting. So I thought I will start by hiring an assistant, because that person can do the emails, can do all the stuff I don't like to do. And I hired someone that I knew was doing that kind of work. And I don't know, I thought it would work out, but it totally didn't. Like, this person did not work as I expected. And then I had to end up firing the person again. So that was like, in a very small amount of time, me figuring out like, hey, I want this, let's do it, investing money into it, and then it doesn't work. So that was a bit of, that was kind of a negative experience, but I did learn a lot from that. So the next time I was hiring, I at least knew what kind of questions to ask, or what kind of things I found important. But it's still very, very hard, I would say, to hire people. And especially if you're bootstrapped, it comes from your own money.
Totally.
And you could be, I don't know, buying something cool
Anything.
from it. Yeah. Or it could feel like safe to have this money, but you're actually like giving it to other people. And how do you do that? Yeah.
How long did that take for you you trained this person, you brought him in, and then you realized, oh, this isn't the right fit, all the way to like getting rid of them and bringing somebody in that was a better fit? How long did that process take you to realize?
I think it was 3 months.
Okay, that's not terrible.
No, it's not. It's not too bad. You do want to give people a chance. I really believe people can grow. But it did seem this person was also not in the right, I don't know, mindset. And there was a lot of things happen in personal life, etc., which made work more complicated. But then I did have to be, I couldn't be, I couldn't be holding on to this person as well, because that would, it made me feel bad that my work was not getting done, and I was, investing in this person.
Totally.
So then I had to make the decision to say like, hey, this is not working out. Let's separate ways. And I think that was also very hard for me to do, because that's not the
Yeah.
intention when you hire someone at all. It might be, one of the hardest things to do as well,
Totally.
to let go of someone.
So as we kind of mentioned, as you were stepping into this space, that it's kind of a niche space, right? I mean, it's a sliver of the area of e-commerce, and that like, okay, you need to be able to, although it's vitally important, of course, it's this small space, and even with that, there are other people out there doing it, right? I mean, you can Google it and you're going to get tons of results. How do you stand out and differentiate yourself so that someone would work with you over anybody else?
Yeah, so like I said, it has mainly been my personal brand.
Yeah.
And I am a person that is sometimes fascinated with subjects, and then I hold on to it and I want to figure it out. And then, for example, create a talk about it. And that sometimes makes me have something else to offer than just the mainstream, because, learning how to run an A/B test, how to do research, I think anyone can learn that. But it's also your approach, your mindset. And I think that that is what most people like when they hear me talk, and it resonates. And I think that that's actually what gives me clients. It's like maybe my way of thinking, or the things I find important in business, in life. And I really love that, because that also means that if it is a person that doesn't fit my company, they won't reach out to me at this point most of the time. Like, they can, of course, accidentally stumble onto the company, but I think that happens much less. But also, that means a lot of weight is on me to attract leads as well.
Yeah, because I think it's interesting. I think I told you when we talked initially, because we had talked about working together, and you were like, "Hey, how'd you find me?" I think I found you with ChatGPT. I think I typed in with the deep research feature, "Hey, here's my company. Here's what I need. Who do I need to be talking to?" And I mean, I remember the results, and yours was very much more the personal brands. Like, "Hey, here's somebody out there talking about this stuff. She's established herself as a leader in the space, as a thought leader. Like, you should reach out to her." And it wasn't even so much like reach out to this company. This company has helped these clients achieve these things. It was definitely more centered on you. So that's interesting. I mean, that is very much, I think, what's resonated on the internet is you and your brand and your personal expertise. So that's interesting.
Oh, I mean, that's interesting that ChatGPT or
Yeah.
AI says that about me, because I have no idea. Yeah.
Yeah. You're putting out the information, and it's the one, deciphering and coming up with it. So I don't know if you have to start giving a kickback to OpenAI as they bring you customers, but I don't know. I don't know if they're going to start knocking on the door asking for that. But let's talk about, again, as you're growing your company, we're kind of still in this building and scaling phase. What, if you can identify and remember, are one of the bigger bets that you took early on of like, oh man, this is, out of my comfort zone. This is risky, that you had to take in order to kind of push your company forward and kind of take it to the next level of growth?
So I'm also still very much in the process of growing the company, of course. So I think, the main pivotal moments are, when you really decide to go for it 100%. When you start hiring people, I think that was a big one for me too. And then I also got pregnant at one point, and that was business-wise like the worst decision probably for the company.
Totally.
Like, why would you do that?
Why
But
would you do that?
it's you are living your life, and that was something I was also interested in. So there we were. I was pregnant, and I had a company and a team that needed to run.
Yep.
So I was working mainly with contractors at that time, which is a little bit easier, to let go of. And I actually decided to do something that was also business-wise not the best choice, probably, but I decided to stop everything. So I gave away all my clients to cool people that I knew. I gave away all my clients to agencies that I had personally learned from. And I just fully stopped doing what I was doing, because I thought, I can do my own kind of maternity leave and, be away for 3 months, something like that, have someone substitute me, and that will be okay. But honestly, I wasn't sure. It was my first child, and I wasn't sure what would happen. And as I had worked before, I would always kind of attract companies and clients with what I was doing at that moment. And that was what actually, I don't know, made everything fit. And it's kind of, I don't know, it's not the most straightforward thing to do business, probably. But I thought, yeah, I really want a full stop, and I will believe that it will be all right. I will come back. There will still be clients that are interested, and I will start building up from the ground floor, or I will start building up again, because I will also have a new. I don't know. I will have to deal with this new identity as a mom. I don't know how that's gonna go yet, but I wanted to have clients and a company that fitted to me at that point. So that was actually quite recently, because my daughter is now 1 and a few months.
Okay.
And then I started building up again. And I was really scared. I thought, oh my gosh, what have I done? This is the stupidest thing ever. Why do I why do I do this? I mean, I had a great time off, and it was really time off, and I could really focus on, the whole baby part.
Yeah.
But then, after 3 months, I got really nervous, because I thought, oh my gosh, what a stupid thing to do. To just believe that everything will come running back to you. Like, why do you do that? But then in the end, it actually did. I mean, I'm not at the same level as I was before with the company, but I mean, it's almost there. So in the end, taking that break was probably harmful in some way.
Sure.
But it did turn out okay again. And I think these are, moments in life that are very important to focus on. That's just what I think, and I'm sure other people will think differently. And that's the decision I made, but it's not a straightforward business decision, because I kind of had to start again.
I mean, what a gift to be able to, for several months, just focus all the way in on your new child. I mean, that's really neat. But some people might have opinions about if that's the best move or not from a business sense, but you can't argue with like the personal benefits of being able to be all the way present with your child for multiple months right at the beginning. That's really neat that you're able to do that, and that you've bounced back, and that you've seen that you've seen the proof that you can bring clients back and continue growing the company. So that's really, really neat. As you have continued to grow, have you needed to take any funding, or have you continued to be able to bootstrap it?
Still bootstrapping. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. That's great.
Still scary.
You're like, I guess you could call it awesome, but yeah, still bootstrapping.
Yeah. And
it's
I mean, it's okay for now as well. It's working, and if not, I will do it differently, or maybe I'll be forced to do it differently. But for now, it's okay.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm actively in that process with Dwellspring, one of my companies, of like, it's growing, and I'm answering the question of like, do I want to take money? I've been able to bootstrap it so far, and that's been awesome. And I have 100% of the company, but like, do I want to grow it? What do I want this thing to become? And do I grow it past what the current income can make? And or do I kind of keep things tighter and becomes more of a lifestyle business? Those are big questions as you grow early on. As you continue to grow, how are you kind of maintaining that vision that you first set out for the company? Like, here's what I want to accomplish. Here's how I want to help people. Here's how I want to treat the people I work with. These things are important to me. How have you kept that in place as your company has grown?
So I think whenever you're running a company, there is a lot of noise. There is so many things that are going to distract you from, what you actually want to be doing or what you actually believe. But I try to check in with, myself during that times, like, hey, why was it again important to do this whole zero experimentation thing? And for me, it's really about people, and I wanna help people within the companies to use different ways of working, because I think that benefits them and their lives. So it's not only like, hey, I want to make a bunch of money and I want to be successful, but it's really focused on, I want people to behave different in companies, and I think they can do that with being more data driven, for example, because it gives a voice to the intern, for example. If the intern comes up with an idea, can A/B test it, and it turns out to be a great idea, then the intern might be able to change something on the website, for example, while the CEO can do the same thing, because the CEO can also come with an idea. Most of the time, it's a bit easier if you're the CEO, of course, but I think it's kind of equalizes or democratizes the decision-making process, and I think that's very interesting, and I think that's very helpful for people to lead, I don't know, healthy work lives as well. So yeah, for me, running the business is kind of, how can you say, um, it's kind of, I want to change the world in ways, and this is maybe a way that I can do this little thing to change people's lives and to give them, to give them more power, to give them a voice with data, for example. Um, and I think that will improve their lives and, their relationship with people and their maybe even how they think about themselves. So it's in the end, in a way, giving people a voice. So that's kind of my, how do you say that?
Mission.
Yeah, maybe mission in life. Like, how do you get people that don't necessarily speak up to do that? Also in a business, for example. But I've also given writing courses to help people find their voice, speak up, etc., etc.
I love that answer so much. The idea of using A/B testing and optimization as a data-informed way to like democratize knowledge and ideas within a company to level the playing field. And I mean, I absolutely remember early in my career at Disney, being an intern, then right after my internship, not feeling like I had the same voice as other people. Like my voice was not the same volume as other people's. And if anybody could come with an idea and the merit of it was based on the results in the data, like then truly the most junior person in the company's idea is as valuable or is potentially as valuable as the most senior person, because that idea can be vetted with data, and that's what you help people do. It's really cool. Let's see if we can dig into this a little bit and gain a little bit more insight from this piece in particular of hiring. I know you've worked a lot with contractors. You're still growing, and you don't have this huge team. You're running pretty lean, but you still have had to hit that fork in the road that so many founders hit of, okay, this is too much work. Like I need help. And what advice would you have for other founders who kind of who are getting to that point of like, okay, it looks like hiring might be the best next step, whether that's bringing somebody on or bringing on an agency or partner as a contractor, but they're hesitant to do that because, like you said, that's your own money, like as you're bootstrapping, and it's hard to spend it on other people or other roles coming in. What did you learn from that process? Walk me through just a little bit more of that moment in your company and some advice for other founders who are there.
Yeah, so in a way, it was also kind of inevitable for me because I do want to help people grow. So it really makes sense that I will be able to work with people and to, help them grow and elevate them. So it also is close to my mission in a way. And, having the clients and having revenue coming in is a form of power it gives you to be able to hire other people, I guess, and to give back as well to the community. Because like I said, I could still also be doing a lot alone. But at one point you do make a choice about, what do I want this company, where do I want it to go? Where do I want my career to go? What do I want to be doing? What do I think is fun, important, those kind of things. And then I started just hiring people first smarter than me. I think that's always a good option. Because then they would have their specialty. So for example, I would hire a UX researcher, first on only a project base, later on more steadily. And I really learned from that person as well, because it was not my full focus, for example. And this person did have that full focus. So in a way, it's made the company better. And that was, of course, also something I was looking for.
I love that. And I also really align with that particular part of your mission of income and revenue being part of what empowers you to bring other people in and allow other people to provide for themselves and their families and their lifestyles, and that you could maybe do some of that stuff yourself, or you could bring somebody else in and give them that opportunity to make a paycheck and to support themselves, potentially their families. I really love that. What as you do grow your business, and I think it's so interesting. You had this kind of growth, and then you took it all back, and then you're like regrowing. I think that's such an interesting perspective that you have. What word of caution could you offer to other founders who are actively in that process of scaling? Some things that you've encountered that you're like, oh man, I did that wrong, or that was just an area that you learned something in that could be a cautionary tale for others who are in that same position.
So I think at one point a mind shift I made was, hey, it's not me against the world, but it's kind of more me against myself. And, being a better self, being a better person tomorrow, learning, growing. And what steps do you need to take for that? Because when I thought like, hey, it's me against the world, I have to go out there, I have to get clients, I have to I don't know, kind of if I would try too hard, force too much, it would work. I would find clients, but it wouldn't be, I don't know, feeling as good, or it were not the right clients that were a perfect fit for my company. Because, you can, if you have a company like an agency, you can have a diverse group of clients, but you can also say like, hey, we only want to work with certain clients, and we will say no to another bunch of companies. So there is also a choice to be made there. But yeah, summarizing, I would say, it's not you against the world, but it's mainly you against yourself. And that has helped me grow the most, and my company as well, interestingly.
That's really neat. I love that answer. Let's move into a couple closing questions here. First being, when you speak with other entrepreneurs and other founders, which I'm sure you encounter a lot at these events and things, especially that you're speaking at, because it's just so applicable for other entrepreneurs and business owners, what's a question that you get asked a lot, or what's the question that you get asked the most? And then what question are these people that are approaching you and asking you these questions, what are they not asking but should be?
So I think a lot of people, when they meet me, they're like, hey, I know you from LinkedIn and you're always everywhere. And it seems you're doing everything all the time, which is funny because it's actually the opposite. Like I'm very careful with social media. Like I will box out some time for it, and that's it. I don't want to have a notification disrupting me from my thinking if I'm doing something else, because I think like my attention is the most important thing. So it's really funny that it's being perceived as, hey, you're everywhere, you're at every event, you're all the time there online. Well, in fact, I'm doing the opposite. And of course, I am visible, I am giving courses, but it's it feels like it's very focused, and I'm not everywhere at all. So that's very interesting, this perception and how I'm actually doing it.
That's I bet it could be as simple as, the whole world really only happens in the bubble that like you perceive it. And so if you're on social media and you just open LinkedIn, and it feels like if you open LinkedIn once a week and every time your content is popping up, they're like, oh my gosh, she's everywhere, she's all the time. And you're like, well, I post once a week or whatever, but it's just that constantly, I guess it's the algorithm and serving up kind of when and to who gives that perception. And that's valuable. I mean, that's valuable for people wanting help. You're out there, you're providing value. And I bet, as you've said, that you can find a lot of clients that way. Imagine that you woke up at the beginning of your career. You somehow were able to retain all the knowledge and experience that you have now, but you're right there at the start. And let's even think about the start of your entrepreneurial journey. And you're starting there and fresh. How do you kind of spend that first week of your new start?
Oh man, if I had to do it all again, yeah, it would be so much easier, right? But honestly, I had to deal with a lot of fear. Like I was really scared to make the wrong decision. I would really doubt myself. Am I able to do this? Is this going to be the thing for me? Um, but again, it was really me against myself in this case. And if I would have to do it all again, I would, well, I kind of did that, right? I was like, after my maternity leave, I was like a phoenix from the ashes, which kind of also proves how strong the company is in a way and the personal brand. And the second time around, I did believe more in that. It was still scary, of course. But I did approach it with more ease and more of a relaxed mindset and I was thinking like, hey, if not today, then tomorrow. It will just happen. It's just a matter of time. I will keep on doing the things I find important. I'll keep on helping people, etc., etc., and it will just happen. So kind of believing in today is not everything. There will be a tomorrow, and I will believe stuff will happen tomorrow if I do the right thing today. I think that also really helped. So I would, a second time around, I would be more at ease, try to enjoy the free time because free time is also free time to think in a way, which can lead to wonderful things. So, if you don't have a lot of clients or, you're just starting and you have all that free time, that's actually really a gift that you should use very well. So I would try to enjoy that more.
Man, if we all realized that at first, that like, hey, maybe you don't have to push as hard. Like maybe just do the things that you know are important to you, and like things will come. Yeah, that's really wise.
But we're taught that in so many ways,
Oh
right?
yeah,
You work hard and then you'll
totally.
be successful. So there's so many stigmas, etc., that you have to go against.
Yeah, and if you don't work hard, if you don't put in the work and the success doesn't come, then you have to own that failure. And often that's just not the case. Like often you put in a lot of work, you think you should be doing more, but you're doing enough, and any failure that comes, we are negative on ourselves for our failures way more than we congratulate ourselves for our successes. Like that's just we always do, and so it's easy to focus on those things.
So maybe a funny thing to say about that. I had a period where I collected like 100 rejections. So I told you I did journalism, and then I wanted to write books. I thought that was going to be my thing. But then dealing with rejection of your work is really hard, especially if you worked very hard on it. You spend all the hours, you did all you could do. But it's a very normal thing if you try to become an author that you get rejected. So I try to practice to deal with rejection by aiming for a rejection. And then every time I would get a rejection, I would think like, hey, at least I created something. I put it out there. Maybe I'm going to get feedback on it. That sometimes happens. And, I have learned, I have done something. So I have learned something. And that was also maybe, a big part of my career and trying to deal with failure. Because I guess if you want to have your own company, you will deal with failure. But you can get used to it in a way as well.
Yeah, that's a really interesting perspective and really neat. I think a perspective that people who, I don't know, you run into that with, yeah, writing is a great example. Actors who are like constantly auditioning, and failure and rejection is just part of it. And I think that people bringing that experience into something like building a business can be so valuable. Like even that you had the mindset of like, all right, I'll just aim for rejection. Like I've experienced it so much and that's just part of the learning process. That probably helps so much, especially if you ever, you hear that about going and getting funding. Like you hear no, 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 and one yes. And, hopefully you've built up some resilience to something like that if you ever have to encounter that, that other people might not otherwise have without your experience and journey. So that's really neat. Lastly, let me close with this. What is one tool or quote or book, something that you've found indispensable to your either professional or personal progress?
Asking the hard questions at the end, huh?
Yeah, just leaving it for last. Exactly.
Um, I don't know, therapy? That's
Yeah.
probably
Hey.
also a really weird answer, but I
No.
mean,
Yeah.
like I said, it is you against yourself. Also in business, even though you think, hey, business and personal, those are two different things, right? But
Yeah, no.
I have to say, like personal growth,
Yeah.
doing therapy, learning about yourself, how your brain works and how all that goes, has not only been one of the best things for me personally, but also in my in my career, actually.
I really love that. I couldn't agree more. I mean, when I sit down in front of my counselor and we think, all right, what would be helpful to cover today? It's almost always like, well, here's what's going on with the company. Like, of course, I have a family and there's absolutely things that I talk about there, and that's of primary importance in my life. But yes, business and personal, but not really, especially for business owners. I mean, it's essentially the same thing. It's so intertwined. And so to untangle some of that and understand about yourself and how you react the way you do and what motivates you, and that's so helpful for business. So I love that answer. I totally agree.
Yeah, and I think when we think about business and doing business, we often think about also when working at a company, hey, we have less emotions, but honestly, you always bring your full self everywhere.
Yep.
So also, to the place you work or to the company that you're trying to grow, you're always bringing your full self, all the emotions, all the, coping mechanisms or whatever it is you're dealing with. So that was a good realization for me.
Yeah, that's really neat. Well, awesome. This was really, really valuable. You had some really unique perspectives to share that I really loved hearing about, and I know my listeners will too. So thank you so much for taking the time to do that and sharing with my audience today.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for asking me all the hard questions.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for answering. You did a great job. All right. Thank you so much. You take care. If you guys enjoyed the show, leaving a review is the best way to help others find it. Second only to sharing it directly with your friends and family. Thanks so much for helping get the word out. Hit me up at brandon@readysetstartuppod.com. If you have additional questions about a topic I covered, have suggestions about another area you'd like to see me dig into, or just want to say hi, please reach out. I'd love to get in touch. Keep imagining, keep creating, keep inspiring your spheres of influence with what you're passionate about. The world may just need that dream that's in your head. See you next time.